In this video, I'm going to rank the best and worst real estate sectors for 2025. The real estate market is evolving rapidly. Some sectors are showing incredible potential while others are sucking wind. So a lot of people talk about cycles, and I want to talk about them too. So there's business cycles, there's market cycles, there's investment cycles, there's economic cycles, and of course, there's real estate cycles. While it can all be very confusing, there's just a few things that are going to be consistent from cycle to cycle. And the number one is time. You can have real estate cycles, for example, that can last 3, 5, 10, even 20 years. And the same thing with investment. However, you can also have them like in really hot markets where they can just last less than a year. So you really got to pay attention to the time here. The one thing that they all have in common are expansions and peaks and recessions and depressions and troughs. Over here in the real estate side, we call it recovery, hyper supply. Over here in the business cycle, they call it recessionary gap and potential gap. Up here in the markets, it's distribution, accumulation, and markdown. But it's all the same thing. So it's really important to understand that there's a peak and a trough, and there's always expansion and contraction and recession and recovery in every single one of these. So don't get too confused. Just understand that there's a time element and there's a supply and demand element. And when those factors kick in, then the reactionary forces also kick in as well. So for the real estate, we're going to focus on single family, multifamily, office, retail, industrial, and self-storage. And I'm going to tell you exactly where I believe they are on this cycle and why. Keeping in mind that all of them have expansion and peak and recession and depression and troughs based on things like supply, population migration, where are people going, interest rates, cap rates. There's a lot of things that drive the real estate market, and we're going to go into those next. So let's just start with residential. I believe that residential is sitting up here in the expansion cycle. Now, I know a lot of people would argue with me, but there's a couple things that you got to pay attention to. During the expansion cycle, prices go up, and we're definitely seeing that with single family right now. Now, not in every single market. So there are some of you who are saying, not in my market, prices are going down. But generally and nationally, we're seeing prices go up. Now, the reason is, of course, is the supply is down. And why is the supply down? It's because interest rates are up, people pulled back, and also there's a lot of people that refinanced at really low rates, and they're holding on to the equity, and they're holding on to their home. Their mortgage payment is actually less than their rent payment. So the last thing they want to do is even move next door for the exact same house that's probably going to cost more, plus the mortgage payment will be more because interest rates are up. The demand is going to vary from market to market, but generally the average residential MLS or supply on the market is about 6 months, and we're somewhere in the 4-month range on a national average. So that means that the supply is down and prices are going up. Now, one bright spot could be that rates could go down next year with the new administration, but who knows at this point? My prediction for 2025 is that prices are going to continue to go up, because as interest rates are projected to go down, what that's going to do, yes, it's going to add more supply, but it's also going to bump the prices up because they're having lower interest rates and lower mortgage payments. So they're going to stretch for that home, which potentially could push the prices even higher for next year. The one thing that will correct the submarket is more supply. And as interest rates go down, then there will be new construction, but there's a heck of a lag here for that to happen. And if that happens next year, it's not going to hit for at least 2 to 3 years in the consumer's pocket. So if you're a home buyer, it's a very good time to buy, because you're probably going to have some price increases. And of course, if rates go down, you can always refinance on the way down, which is going to help your payment. If you're an investor, it's probably 50-50. It's going to be market driven because you might not cash flow. But however, if rates do go down, maybe you will, but it's probably not a good idea to buy right now if it's not cash flowing. But if it is, I definitely would buy, and I would do fixed long-term debt and make sure that it cash flows. If you want a single family due diligence checklist that I made, click below. This is a category that I really know well, is multifamily, because we own and manage around 10,000 units right now. We bought over $3 billion of real estate in the last 20 years. So here's where we are in multifamily. We are just getting through recovery. And why are we in recovery? Because we just went through recession, which basically meant that there's a lot of people that bid the prices up with really low interest rates, And of course, there's lots of construction. So there's no more completions, no more construction, and we're now in the recovery phase. And what does that mean? That means that interest rates are up, but also cap rates are up. So if I'm a buyer, this is a very, very good time to be looking, because the cap rates are up, which means that the values of the properties are down, but it also means that the cash flow could be down. So you really got to buy cautiously right now. But construction is definitely not up, because the rates went up about 2 years ago. So construction's down. So that extra supply is now being absorbed, and the renters have the advantage right now. So vacancy is up. Rents are also on their way down, because all that construction that's hitting the market right now from 2 years ago when rates were low is hitting the market today. About 1 million units across the country are hitting the market right now. And that's actually lowering rents and making rents flat, even negative. And we're starting to see concessions in many, many markets. The additional thing that's up are expenses. Property taxes, insurance, utilities, labor, all the things that it costs to run a project are way up. So apartments right now are in flux, but if you're an investor, it's a great time. If you're an owner, this is not such a good time, because these higher rates are probably scooping your cash flow. But we believe that we're right in the early stages of a recovery, and this is going to last into 2 to 3 years before we start to see expansion again with lower rates and more construction, etc. Of course, just like all cycles, it'll peak again, it'll move back down. So just in Q4 2024, we're actually buying and building about $200 million in real estate right now. We are in the accumulation phase, because we're buying them at really good prices and we're making sure that they cash flow. And we're going to ride this up because of the lack of supply and the demand that's being forced upon us from the high prices of single family homes and the high prices of the mortgage payments. Those are forcing people into rentals, and we are now becoming a renter nation. So if you guys are interested in taking a look at some of those deals, just click on the link below and you'll be able to see all the deals we're working on. The next big real estate sector is office. And the reason why this is important, because a lot of these real estate loans are sitting in your pensions, your 401ks, your retirement plans. That's where a lot of this office building money is sitting. So the office building is definitely in distress, and it's going up. We're starting to see a lot of real estate owned, bank owned, lender owned properties. That's going up. And people are trying to figure out what to do with these things. They're looking at conversions. Can they convert them to residential? Can they convert them to self-storage? We're starting to see people buy these. When that happens, that means distress. They're buying them way below replacement cost from the lenders right now. And this is a result of work from home, but we're definitely seeing rents are down, vacancies are up, subleases are way up. So in other words, a building might show something as occupied, but the tenant hasn't been there for 2 or 3 or 4 years. Think of businesses like Salesforce or Twitter, where they sign these long leases, and so they're technically leased, but no one's showing up each and every day. And of course, the prices are coming way down. So this is the first wave of distress. This is the first wave of debt maturity that's hitting the markets right now. We're not even close to recession. We're expecting 2025 to really be a rough year, and a lot of supply is going to be dumped on the market. So keep an eye on this, because 2026 could be an opportunity, because when all the supply dumps on these lenders in 2025, they're not going to know what to do with them. They're going to try to get top dollar for them, and they're going to have to sit on their books for a long period of time before they start to dump them, and before the supply of inventory of office buildings gets higher, then the prices will come down just like anything else. This will be your opportunity as an investor to redevelop it, repurpose, or whatever it might be, to convert these things into residential or self-storage or whatever. This is prime real estate in a lot of locations, in a lot of areas, that you should keep your eye on for next year and the year after. The next one is retail. Now, we all know that everybody wants what they want immediately. They want to click in the morning and they want it there by noon. This has been a real problem for what we call bricks and mortar. One thing is for sure, there's no lenders lending on retail right now. Now, there are some malls being repurposed. They're being ripped down, and you're starting to see some open air, beautiful outdoor stuff with some office buildings and some multifamily and some really, really high-end restaurants. And those kinds of things are happening all over the country. And that's good, because a lot of those malls are really, really in great spots around a lot of cities. So that is probably the only construction we're seeing. The demand is kind of flat. In other words, retail really got clobbered a couple of years ago when everybody started buying stuff, especially during the pandemic, where there was no place to go. We lost a lot of bricks and mortar. They're starting to go down. You just look at Macy's, just look at Kmart, look at Sears, look at Bed Bath & Beyond. All of that stuff is really, really in trouble. The two things that are driving this, one is unemployment, which is also up. Keep an eye on this, but also inflation also up. So what does this mean? What this means is when your insurance for your car or your gas for your car or your food goes up, you spend less money in the retail sector. That's what it means. Typically, those are going up faster, a lot faster than your wage growth. So I put retail right here in the recovery phase, believe it or not, because there hasn't been a lot of new construction for a long period of time and people are starting to sort things out. How it's going to do long term, we're quite uncertain. Probably the hottest real estate market right now is industrial. It's been this way for a while, but if you think about it, last mile cold storage and Amazon effect kind of are driving everything. So when you click on something in the morning and you want it the next day, which is the Amazon effect, and it ends up on your door, that means that it actually has to be local somewhere. Whereas in the old days, the manufacturer would be based, let's say, somewhere like in New Jersey, and then they would ship all their gear out to all these different stores, these regional stores like Sears and Macy's and JCPenney's, for example, and you would drive down and pick it up. Now you just click, but you want it the same day a lot of the time. So this Amazon effect is really disrupting the market. So this last mile distribution, which are these huge warehouses that are being built right outside of your town near you, where these DSPs or delivery service providers like Amazon can go out and just pick up your gear and bring it to your house that same day. So this whole industry is being revolutionized. Same thing with cold storage. So think of food. All that stuff is blowing up the peripheral of a lot of these big regional towns. Last mile distribution right now and industrial is one of the hottest sectors. But be careful here because not all industrial is equal. So you might have industrial in the middle of nowhere, which could be doing very differently. Anything right on the edge of town is doing extremely well. They're building these big warehouses and then they're actually subleasing inside of there to different manufacturers so they can have their stuff locally too. So it's really, really revolutionizing what's going on right around each city around the United States. So the last one I'm going to talk about is self-storage. A lot of people are in self-storage right now. And I think one of the things that happened during this time is there's a lot of people that went into self-storage to buy it, build it, own it, and syndicate it. So there's a lot of players in this space. So that's one driven up the prices. But what we're seeing right now is we're seeing vacancies up and supply is up. Demand is down because rooftops are down. So what does that mean? This is a sector that I actually invest in. This is a sector that we've actually built properties. We built self-storages before. The success of self-storage largely is based on new construction of rooftops. So think about it. When 1,000 homes get built on the edge of town, there's a certain percentage of those people that use self-storage. When things are stagnant, as they are as a result of the higher interest rates, then that settles down and then self-storage also settles. In other words, as people move around, they get rid of stuff, but as they grow and the economy is more prosperous and the areas are growing from a rooftop standpoint, then you start to see a rise in self-storage. When rates are going down, you see more boats, more RVs, more all those kinds of things that are also inside of these self-storages. So self-storages are a little bit in flux right now, and I actually think that they're on their way down, heading into a little bit of a recession. The one thing that could save this sector would be new construction, population migration, and of course, employment growth in certain areas. So the three areas that I would look at for 2025 specifically for investing would be anything industrial on the edge of town that's in high demand right now, because you're going to have a very good run for several years. The second one are data centers. Now, think about the amount of storage that's necessary for AI, computers, cell phones, and all that kind of stuff. So data storage is off the charts right now. And there's a race to get some of the very best real estate and put data centers inside of them. And these are popping up all over the place. The third one, of course, is multifamily. And that's specifically because lack of construction, high interest rates are forcing a lot of homeowners into rentals. That's going to, of course, put future pressure on the rents. It's going to drive rent growth over the next 2 to 3 years. If you want an in-depth understanding of multifamily investing in just 40 minutes, this next video is for you. My partner and I, Ross, just walked through one of our properties where we share actual tips and strategies that you can use yourself with how we buy and invest in real estate.